Cloud.
Yes.
Here we go. So thanks for joining me today, Shelby. It's been a long time since I've done a Facebook Live. This is kind of exciting. I'm feeling the that sense of excitement and you know, like activation in my body, being here and doing this,
Mhm.
not knowing who's going to watch. But I'm excited to be here with you. And for those of you that are watching, Shelby reached out to me and she said that she's in the last week of a really wonderful program that she's launching. And we were talking about the importance of support for practitioners. And we as practitioners really value having support in our lives. And both of us work in our own capacity as helpers of helpers. And we were talking about how important this is. And we thought we'd get on live and have a conversation for everybody to hear. I had some
Yeah.
questions that I wanted to ask Shelby, and we just thought we'd have a dialogue about it together. So thanks for being here with me.
Thank you. It's so awesome to be able to reach out to a friend and colleague and just see how we can partner instead of that old paradigm of like competing or whatever,
I
it's
know.
like, how can we get this stuff that we believe in so much out to our people together? So thank you for being
Yeah.
someone that can do that.
Yeah. So I'm really interested in hearing. I want to kind of start our conversation by hearing a little bit about the program that you've created. Um, and then from there, kind of let the conversation meander into a deeper discussion about why this matters so much to both of us. Because I think it's near and dear to my heart, which is why I'm saying, yeah, let's talk about this publicly. And I know it's near and dear to your heart. You've dedicated your life to it. So tell me about the program, Body of Work, which by the way, I love that name.
Thank you. I loved it so much at first. And then I've been starting to second guess it. I'm like, oh, I wonder if people actually know what that means. So it used to be called originally 5 or 6 years ago, Coaching with Confidence. And then it was Embodied Coaching Experience.
Mhm.
And then so many therapists and healers, mentors joined us that I wanted to feel like everyone was included. So I called
Mhm.
it Body of Work because my background is in somatic psychotherapy, somatic trauma healing. And I wanted people to feel like they could lean into a space as professionals, coaches, therapists, healers,
Mhm.
where they were supported to be in their felt sense, coming into their regulation at home in their bodies so that they feel at home in their work and that their clients and their students can be supported in that kind of space.
I mean, and we need it more than anybody else, I'd say. Not that there's a hierarchy. It's that when we're helping others, having a space where we can go to get the support that we need to refine our work, to process our work, to be supported is essential, I think, for us in our growth as practitioners of all kinds.
Absolutely. I mean, I am the first person to get on my soapbox maybe a little too much
Mhm.
about being ethical, being in integrity, not causing harm, being trauma informed.
Mhm.
And there's no way we could do that alone. Like, we have to be in community to be supporting each other, to be creating the safe enough spaces that we want with ourselves, our clients, and the rest of the world.
Mhm.
And the fastest and best way I know to do that is through the practice of embodiment and through community.
Yeah. Well, I really agree with that. I think there's a need for us, biologically speaking, to have that connection and that safety and community. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, tell me more about like what are you what are you doing with folks in the program? What are they going to get out of this?
Yeah. So it's 10 months. And the cool thing is, people keep coming back. And so it's a really beautiful group of people around the world. Each group, there's two, are small, only 15 people.
Nice.
And we meet for the first 3 weeks of each month for an hour and 45 minutes. And the structure is pretty much the same every time. I'm very reliable in that way. We do some kind of embodiment practice where we really arrive, get grounded, and set our intentions together for how we'd love to be in the space together. And then we move into some kind of community relational mindfulness, or discussion or teaching on somatics, trauma, how we work with clients, what comes up in us, what comes up with clients, things
Mm.
to be aware of. And then we spend the bulk of the time with individual consultation and supervision. I really should have called it mentorship because I think consultation and supervision feels kind of like dry and clinical.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize until like yesterday, oh, I guess I am in my 40s now. I guess I have been doing this work for over 17 years. I think I could call it mentorship at this
Yeah.
point. And so it's like live coaching, but it's not advice. What
Yeah.
it is we actually ground into whatever's present together with your clients or what's up in your business.
Mm.
And I help you, whoever I'm working with in that moment, tap into your own wisdom around what's really going on or what you might need to be moving forward or what could be more clear. And so it's not where I'm just talking, and everyone's listening. We're in this collaboration together again and again so that you can really trust yourself to go,
Mm.
oh, yeah, I know the signals of my body and what this means and what that might mean and how to
Mm.
follow those impulses instead of just working from here, which can be so draining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Sounds
It
great.
is.
So what I'm hearing you say really is that there's like a refinement to our skills as practitioners by having this place to return to again and again. And in
Mhm.
addition to the refinement, there's probably so much that we get to learn by watching other practitioners do their work, be supported, talk about how they're thinking about what they're doing. Some of the most valuable components, aside from learning the theory and trauma, somatic experiencing, was the consultation work that I did, where I got to hear how we applied these concepts to so many different disciplines. And with a group like what you're talking about, there's so many disciplines there together, and getting to hear how everybody else thinks about stuff just helps us grow. And then getting to see other people work at is, again, it helps us to grow.
Absolutely. And one of the most powerful things and moments I witness regularly is when someone brings something, as practitioners, it can be so vulnerable to be like, I don't know how to do this,
Yeah.
or what just happened there? Or, oh, I think I did that wrong. Or, oh, like I'm shining really bright and I don't even know how to let myself be this big or this seen.
Yeah.
And I'll say, has anybody else felt that way before or is feeling that now? Almost every time, every hand goes up.
Yeah.
And just the somatic experience of what happens when we share something so deeply vulnerable and know that we're not alone. Like,
Yeah.
it's so simple, but it's so big.
It is. It really is. There are people with me here in this, and there are people that get me.
Mhm.
And that sense of belonging is there, and that sense of resonance is there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so then therapists, coaches, healers, all sorts of people, huh?
Yes, the prerequisite is that people need to come in with some kind of training behind them. I'm
Mhm.
not starting from scratch with people. It's called body of work because we're integrating what we already know. We're deepening what we know so that we can really bring what's valuable and what matters forward. So many of us are addicted to training after training and needing more letters after our name, and until we can really give ourselves permission to come home to ourselves and sit in our seat and offer such incredible gifts that every single one of us has.
Mhm.
And so it's not an additional training
Yeah.
of a modality. But the amazing thing is, so many different modalities are here. And it's not just me holding whoever's sharing. We're all bringing our wisdom forward together in the chat, out loud. And with the combination of such experience, so many tools, so many ideas,
Mhm.
it's really rich to get to be in that space.
Mhm.
And because I was a training junkie for so many years, I think it's really fun for me because I know pretty much everything everyone's bringing in terms of which modality they're working in.
Mhm.
And so I get to really be creative around how we might explore
Mhm.
what's up within each person's modality or training.
You know what I love about that is that it's there's an exploration. I love the name because there's an exploration of the individual's body of work, their own,
Mhm.
and your body of work is so vast at this point in your career that it is encompassing of that. And so in a way, it translates beautifully in those two very different but very, overlapping ways
Yeah.
that
And it's
turn the
all
name.
about, yeah, it's all about body, how we are
Mhm.
here with all that we're carrying.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about some of your background. You and I have talked a couple times, but I don't know that you've interviewed me, but I don't know that I've ever had the pleasure of going on that little discovery of your history as a practitioner.
Wow. Well, I think we have a lot in common. I know that. But
Mhm.
my path way back when started with Buddhist meditation
Mm,
and just was an avid practitioner from my early 20s,
mm,
trying to figure out the nature of suffering and figure out how to feel just a little bit better. I personally was struggling with complex and developmental PSD that I had no idea I was
mm,
dealing with. And sitting in those long, silent retreats, what I learned was that freedom is totally possible.
mm.
And I wanted to learn more. I actually wanted to teach everything I was learning immediately. And my teachers were like, sorry, you're like 26 years old. You got a long ways to go. And they could tell I still had a lot of healing to do. And they were all therapists. And so I first went to a coaching training because it was like right there in front of me. And I just wanted to say yes to everything that was coming my way. And after I took that, I realized I really wanted to learn more about the relationship
Yeah.
between the client and the practitioner. The tools were great. I loved them so much. They were so much fun. It was really helpful. But in my own healing, the relationship and the attachment dynamics have
Yeah.
always been so fundamental
Mhm.
to how I felt safe enough to show up and do the healing work.
Mhm.
So I focused on that in graduate school for somatic psychotherapy, and then went crazy with trauma training.
Mhm.
I started understanding part of why I felt so bad was
Mhm.
trauma. And I'm so grateful I just entered through the lens of somatics
Mhm.
and have just been there steady ever since of we have to include the body in the process of healing, and have since, done somatic experiencing retreats and workshops, certified in sensory motor,
Mhm.
EMDR, which I don't use anymore.
Yeah.
But my favorite is the somatic regulation and resilience and
Mm.
transforming experience brain trauma work that is so gentle
Yeah.
and so deeply healing and nourishing that it just, for my own healing, felt like it brought it all together.
Yeah. Yeah. That relationship piece that's underlying Steve and Kathy's work. Mm.
Mm,
That the relational attachment piece is just wow. It's really all I can say about that work because
yeah.
there's so many really great theories that help to give us pieces of context, but they're still separate from each other, and there's a relationship that has to form between us and our clients, or us and our therapist, or us and our coach, or us and our teacher, or us and our friends, or us and our parents, and us and other, right? That's present everywhere we are as humans. And so when we leave that out of the equation as a helper, we're missing the opportunity to really work with the underlying essence of what it is to be alive, I think.
I mean, I'm so glad you asked that because and just said what you said, because that's really what I hope, like on the best day the body of work provides is we can have a million tools and incredible training with those tools. But if we don't understand our impact and our power and how incredible the nuances in the relationship are in the role of healing, we're missing everything.
Yeah.
Because when we're here and we're regulated and we're open to that connection and everything that happens in it, which can include a lot of stuff that's hard to feel, everything changes and our work is so much easier. And I was so tired in my own work of doing everything, making everything hard. And the reality is when we're aware of this, everything gets easier.
It really does. It's effort isn't what's necessarily required for us to support each other. And I have a thing that I like to say in my own training, the trauma and somatic training, which is, I'm here with you is very different than you're going to be okay. Right? It's completely different. You're sad, you're in pain, you're angry, you're distraught. I'm here with you in it. Is totally different than it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine.
Yuck.
Yuck. Right. Yeah. Right. Because it's that validation of there's someone else. I'm not alone. Someone's with me. And that is the fundamental essence, I think, of us as humans, though. It's like, I need other. I have to have other to survive. It's impossible for me to survive without other.
And so few of us got that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here with you. It also, when we're really genuinely here, when we have that capacity to be here in the moment, regulated, in touch with our own bodies, supporting our nervous systems, we're genuinely here, not just saying I'm here with you.
That's an important distinction.
Yeah, something very magical happens. You don't even have to say I'm here with you. You can.
Yeah.
But you have to do so little when you have that capacity to show up like that.
And there's, I think, an important caveat. I'm so glad you said that, because the words aren't what matter. It's what the words are conveying about our state. And that state is something that happens when we're with ourselves and we have the ability or the capacity to be with ourselves. So like, I cannot really be with you and have those words translate to I'm here with you unless I'm first have learned how to be with me and be with me in the discomfort that I feel or don't feel, the emotion that's very real that moves in and out of me and as a human being. And if I can't be with that, then I can say the words all day long, but you're going to feel the absence of me in the moment because I'm not going to be with myself. Well,
and if we're really honest, when we're in that role of therapist, coach, healer, helper, what shows up in front of us and sometimes what comes at us, it's challenging. It brings up all our stuff in. If we're not aware of our own stuff and we can't hold that with care, our clients will feel it unconsciously or consciously.
Yeah.
And that there's a rupture that happens. We miss them and they miss us, Yeah. And it's like to be able to have a client just so angry or so disappointed by something we might think is a tiny little thing. And to be able to sit with ourselves and be like, I really want to be a good practitioner. I really want to be experienced as helpful. I have this insight I'd love to get, and just to soothe those parts of ourselves that come up. It's not like we're just this equanimous, unconditionally loving, steady, graceful, always saying the right thing. The reality is the more we're able to soothe ourselves, the messier we can be.
That's a really important thing. I mean, I'm sorry for interrupting, but the more we know how to be with ourselves, we can soothe ourselves, the more messy we can be. Because it's like, I can trust myself to be in the messiness now. I know that I know how to repair that. I know how to reconnect when something happens. I can trust it, right? But when that's not there, it just feels awful. Or could.
It's such a load to carry,
It is.
and our nervous system can register that as a threat, right? I might be perceived as insecure, unhelpful, harmful, whatever it is. And then we're carrying that. And then we're actually dimming our own light for fear that we could be doing something wrong. We go into that perfectionist place or any number of places. And so that space to be able to be human and messy and not always have the right intervention and the right this and the right that. So much more energy is available. There's like aliveness and vitality and a personality that can come through.
Yeah. Well, and what a gift it is for practitioners to have a place to go where they can, it's like being able to go and practice and rehearse before going out and playing a show. It's like having room to have long dress rehearsals before performing on a stage. And to have all that, the time for rehearsal and practice before you even get to the dress rehearsal. You know, to learn how to drive without being at risk of wrecking the vehicle. Or to be able to make mistakes and wreck it without hurting ourselves. Right? Like riding our bike and being able to fall off, but having padding with us. I'm just creating analogies now.
I love it. I'm just nodding my head.
But it is, I mean, I think it is to have a place where we can go, where we can practice and be playful about it. That kind of takes away some of the tightening or the constriction that we might have around getting it wrong. And I know for a lot of people, for a lot of practitioners, for a lot of coaches, for a lot of therapists, for a lot of healers, there is a fear. Oh no, what if I get it wrong? What if I fuck up? What if I hurt somebody? Right. And what do I do? How do I don't want to take any risks. I don't want to try something new. But to have a place where we can do that, then we can be more adventurous. And it kind of gets rid of a little bit of the constriction, but the intensity around the possibility of getting it wrong. It's like, oh, I can get it wrong? Really?
Yeah.
In our culture, we're not supposed to get it wrong. We're supposed to get it right the first time. Don't you get it wrong.
Or the opposite. Like, what if I'm getting this really right, but I have something in the way of letting myself show the world that what I have to offer is so valuable and so transformative and so supportive and nourishing. But there's something in me that, like, whatever cultural conditioning, familial conditioning is just like, don't say it, don't put it out there, don't get too big, don't shine too bright. That's not safe either. And so to have a space where you really get to show up on any end or in the middle of that spectrum is, to me, I created what I needed most, right? Personally.
It seems like we do that as people, don't we? We go and investigate the thing that really fulfills or helps us to fulfill a need in some way, shape, or form, and that turns into something, a gift that we get to give the world.
Yeah. The thing that I think was hardest for me when I was receiving supervision, I mean, 3,000 hours worth of clients under supervision by law, and still I get consultation every couple weeks. I was real, I'm telling my story the story that I was really righteous. I was just really scared. But to be seen in a group of peers and colleagues and experts as having any doubt whatsoever that what I was doing or what was happening with a client or in my business, it felt like it would shatter me. I would show up for so long as, I'm the best person in this group. I don't have anything here to receive from y'all. In fact, I don't even need to pay for this after I'm out, And the reality was I needed to be held, and I finally found the group where I could be that. And I was, I got softened up. I was loved enough. I was held enough to be able to be like, well, actually, I do have this client with a severe eating disorder, and I'm kind of scared that I'm not doing it right. And how could I know? Because we need a group to bring all of the wisdom for these things. So I just want to call out all the people that go to that end who are like, whatever, I make multiple 6 or 7 figures as a coach this year, and clearly I'm doing a really good job because I make however much money and I'm the best. It's like, I don't care where you are from, I'm not good enough to I'm the best.
Mhm.
We actually need support and nourishment, because now we cannot do this alone. We will find things every day and meet something in another person that there is no rule book for or map for.
Mhm.
And the best way I know to hold it and be curious about it is where we bring a collective of wisdom together and a collective of bodies together
Yeah.
to listen to what really wants to happen.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And whichever end of a spectrum, and there's a whole gradient in between, we still need support. If we're focused on being the best, even the best have support. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the reflection I get most from the participants is, I have never felt more safe in a group.
Mm.
I have never felt more like I can just be myself.
Mm.
And I say that just with the deepest heart, like that I could possibly have created something that holds the intention of what I wanted to create, and that people really
Yeah.
feel that way.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't even want to use it as an advertising point because it's so sacred
Mhm. Yeah.
to me that people get to feel that.
Yeah. And to have it not be something that, like, have it be the wonderful, happy byproduct of the container that you've created.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that we've created
The
together.
co-creation of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I could not do it alone.
No. No. And you do set up the, the context for it to begin to emerge
Mhm.
as the leader of that, which says a lot about the work that you've done for yourself and your skill as a facilitator.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, this has
Hmm.
been fun. You and I could just keep talking for hours. But let's see, what else did I want to know? Well, there was something that you mentioned to me, and you've been doing this for a while now. I mean, this it may have had different names, but the thing that you're doing, the support for supporters, is a thing that you've been doing for many, many years now, even though it's had different names. And we were talking about the cost, because I was asking you, well, how much does it cost? And you've shifted the model a little bit, and that's, some things are a little bit different in this process. But I wanted to hear more about the cost of this. And I just wanted to say to anybody that's listening, that's enjoying this conversation, that's considering potentially joining you, that this is a huge discount that you're giving people. I mean, it's quite a deal for the level of mastery that you have in your craft, and the dedication and commitment to your work and to your body of work over the years of your life. This is what you do. This is what you live and you breathe. This,
Mhm.
and being out with nature.
This and snowboarding.
Right. This is snowboarding, right? And during the summer outdoor sports. But I
Yeah.
mean, like, it's a part of your essence at this point. And when you shared the cost, I was just like, holy cow, that's cheap. I mean, it's you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm just laughing because, I mean, cheap is so relative, right? Every single person deserves to have ongoing support.
Mhm. Yeah.
Every single person. And with anything I ever offer, I'm always open to the conversation. But for this one, I'm like scratching my head, because there is a strong part of me that believes if I had put a zero on the end of $397 a month,
Mhm.
that it would have been full a month ago.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because I mean, I could call it a mastermind. I have some aversion to calling it a mastermind for whatever reason. It really is just a deep-hearted mentorship that will
Yeah.
provide a lifelong change in not only business, not only work with clients, but like relationships at home and beyond.
Mhm.
And the sacredness and the depth of this experience, I truly, truly believe that if it was thousands of dollars more a month, it would be full because people would be like, "Oh, it must be really, really valuable."
Mhm.
But I come from a therapist background, right? I am a coach and a therapist, and um, it just kind of sits there with me. Like I paid $60 a week for my supervision
Mhm.
back in the day, whatever decade ago.
Mhm.
And I just want people to be able to come and
Yeah.
join no matter what.
Well, and I love that, it's um cheap, not in that it's not valuable, but accessible,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that accessibility is something that I think about a lot with the training that I run. Like how can I make it more accessible to people? What can we do to make it available to more people? Because ultimately, I think we all need support. And I
Yeah.
think we all need to have access to these tools, to this understanding. And so I think it's a huge gift that you're giving, this cohort to have that kind of accessibility. But it is really interesting how psychologically some people just make assumptions that, oh, if it costs more, it must be worth more.
Totally. Yeah.
Mhm.
I had a question for you.
Mm.
I thought it'd be fun to discuss because I've been ruffling feathers lately. And I I've been thinking a lot about I've actually been watching a lot of snowboarding tutorials
Mhm.
at night. And one of the videos was like 90% of snowboarders on the mountain suck at snowboarding. And 10% are actually really skilled. And
Yeah.
you know me, I want to be in that 10%. And I was thinking about it in terms of the wellness and health industry
Mm.
and coaches and therapists.
Mhm.
And part of my practice this year is actually trying to ruffle some more feathers.
Mhm.
And I was curious what your thoughts on that, because I actually really think a huge percentage of people are not that skilled,
Yeah.
and they're just trying to get a paycheck or make money.
I
Or
I contemplate this a lot. I'm not sure what it is that leads to this, but it is a thing that I notice.
Yeah.
I Because of my values around my craft and because of um how I live my life, what I believe integrity is, and what I believe it is to call myself a practitioner of what I do. I have really high standards for myself for those things.
Yeah.
And to me, that means going really deep and narrow on the different things that I'm learning and immersing myself in them and practicing them and getting mentorship with them. And that for me is what it means to be a practitioner in the craft that I'm working in the field that I'm working in. And it's very different for others. And when I go in search of working with somebody, and I think, okay, I'd like to work with X kind of practitioner. Let me go find someone. Oh, this website looks great. Oh, they've got all these trainings, they've done all these things. This is going to be wonderful. And I get into a conversation with them. And what I realize is that there's a gap between the training that they've done and the learning or the embodied learning that's taken place inside of them. And I wonder, I often speculate about what that might be about for them, but I do notice this. And I think the 80/20, 90/10 principle probably applies to most disciplines across the planet.
Yeah.
I think there's
Mhm.
a small percentage of people that go really deep and become highly skilled in these things, and then there's a large percentage of people who just kind of get by
Yeah. And then burn out,
and burn out. Yeah.
because they're not being nourished
Hmm.
by the depth you're talking about. A lot of people go horizontal and try to just,
Yeah.
excuse me, gather a lot.
Yep.
And there's something really nourishing when we can actually just sit
Yeah.
in the depth of what we have been practicing.
Well, what it might be, Shelby, is that some people choose careers that they don't really want to choose
Mm,
because they think they need to. or some other reason. Maybe there's some sort of cultural piece around it or familial piece around it. And as a result, don't go deep.
Yeah. Also, I think that especially in the coaching industry and the healing arts industry, it is so compelling right now
Mm.
to go pay 10 grand for that new marketing training, or like that business coach, or all those things, when getting our nervous systems regulated and actually leaning into self-trust and knowing the value of our work with every bone in our body gives us so much more than that training, because we're writing our new copy from a place where we're not quite
That's
in
right.
there yet.
Well, I would agree. One of the wonderful byproducts of this kind of support and this kind of work is that it's a lot easier in the process of enrollment with new clients or consultations, depending on our field. And when I say easier, we feel different in it.
Yeah.
And that translates to making money in a different way, a way that is a bit more sustainable for us as practitioners and as humans, bodied humans, and that translates to the financial and the social benefits that we're looking for when we go and we try to hire that Instagram coach, or that that marketing expert or guru that knows all the right trigger words to trigger our fear of not making enough and of the economic collapse that's looming over our head or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And yet turning towards deepening in what we're doing has the benefit of balancing things in a really special way. Whereas chasing after that thing that's fear driven doesn't have quite the same impact on us.
I can even hear it in your voice when you're saying it. Your whole body just kind of like, leaned into the desk you're leaning on or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a softening. It's a wonderful reflection because it goes to show just how I'm embodying myself in a different way in even the idea and how the idea rests in me. Yeah. Studying marketing for the past 8 years, I guess it's been now, I've learned a lot. And most of what I've learned is what I don't want to do and what I don't like about marketing.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and there are a lot of tactics and things that are used to make money because they work to make money. But why they work is a different, it's a thing that most people aren't analyzing. Well, why does this work? Well, people are getting scared into buying the thing. I don't want to buy like that. I mean, I don't want to sell my stuff like that.
I feel like we could do an entire podcast on the energetics of nervous system regulation and marketing.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sales and enrollment and how we might do that in a way that really takes into consideration the realness of the human being that's sitting across from us or in front of us, right? Or the human being on the other end of, purchasing that product and why they're purchasing the product. Yeah. Ethical sales.
Coming back to integrity.
That's right.
I know we have to end. I was curious, you work with people one-on-one. Is it around business stuff or is it around something else?
It encompasses pretty much all of it. So we can do business stuff. We can do marketing things together. I mean, I don't consider myself a marketer, but I do recognize good marketing and things like that. I've helped people to build businesses or to structure offers. I helped a client build a consultancy that went global, and did some really cool things. And I say helped her build it, but we worked on the interpersonal things that needed to be worked on so that she could do the building herself that was necessary. Sometimes I work with people around trauma, but it's interesting, right? Because trauma, it's just the word we use to describe the things that get in the way of us really embodying ourselves or being fully alive, being fully here. Yeah. And so in some way or another, no matter what we're doing, we're coming into contact with the tendrils of that. And so I'm so grateful for my choice to pursue the learning that I did, because it set me up to help people when they're crafting their life, when they want to get that extra 2 to 5% of growth, when they've hit most of their milestones, but they're like, I think there's like another level that I want to reach. I know the body well enough now that I can help them to work on those particular internal pieces,
Hmm.
get them across the line in that way.
Mm, so good.
Deep. I mean, like, I like to go really deep, and so it's deep and immersive.
Hmm.
I've toyed with the idea of putting together a mastermind of sorts, different than what you're doing, but in a way similar, where there'd be a small group with a revolving thing. But I haven't chosen to do it yet.
Yet.
Yeah, it
We
may
always
happen
talk
one
about
day.
doing something together. Someday we
We
might
do
do that.
someday. I think that will probably happen. There's enough good synergy here.
Aw.
Well, thank you so much for joining me and for reaching out. And listen, I'm going to drop a link for all of you watching. We'll put this up on Instagram too, so that those of you on Instagram can catch this in a replay and check out Shelby's body of work. What's the web domain? I mean, what's the website for that?
It's shelby-lee.com /
Body of work.
body -of -work. But
Okay,
if you just Google body of work, Shelby Lee, you'll find it.
cool. And it's Leigh, right?
Yes.
Awesome. I'll drop it into into the description of this video after we're done and I'm finished with my work for the day.
Thank
So
you
good.
so much.
Yeah, so good. Thanks for hanging out. And we're done with the live.
Yay, that was so nice.